Hello there. Hello. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Yahoo. Hi everyone. I am Freodore, designer of NIJISANJI EN's 11th unit by the beat. おはようございます。NIJISANJI EN 所属 by the beat のビジュアルセンスがこだわりのデザイナー、フリオドールです。Hello everyone. Welcome to yet another coffee Zatsu. Guess what we're going to be doing today? Right, we're going to be brewing some coffee as usual. Hello everyone. I hope everyone's doing well. Hope it has been a pleasant weekend so far, or a pleasant start of the week, depending on where you are. そうですね。今日は珍しくて意外とコーヒー入れますね。いつも通りコーヒー入れます。みんながいい週末過ごしてくれたらいいんですね。よかったです。But yeah, welcome everyone. Hello. So, for the coffee of today, we're gonna be brewing perhaps a type of coffee that's a little bit different than what I normally tend to drink. I have been drinking it already. I have tried it before, and I have been drinking it every now and then. And I thought it is a coffee that when it comes to specialty coffee, it is something that you'll see pretty often. It is not something completely new, but it's a bit different than my usual approach, right? So I thought it would be a nice way to show how I would like approach a coffee like this, which without further ado, instead of being vague, how about we go ahead and introduce today's coffee. じゃあ、今日のコーヒーを紹介しましょうかね。多分、普通入れるコーヒーはちょっと違うから、レシピも少しだけ調整するけど、多分高級コーヒーの世界でこんななんか、こんなコーヒーが結構よく見るから、多分、このレシピが役に立つと思いますから、じゃあ、今日このコーヒーを入れます。そしてこのコーヒーはもう飲んだことあるけど、これは配信で初めてですね。So yeah, this is gonna be the first time I try this coffee on stream, but I have been drinking it already. But this recipe is gonna be... I don't think I brewed it with this recipe though, before. このレシピでちょっと違うけどね。まだ入れたことないと思う。So, this is going to be the recipe of today and the beans of today. 今日のレシピと豆ですね。こちらです。Where's my mark? Here it is. So, we're gonna be using my latest dripper, the UFO Dripper V3, and the UFO Type F filters. However, I feel like the approach for this recipe can be done with any dripper. If you have a V60, you have a Kalita, an origami, any kind of percolation-based brewer. I think this approach can be usable. It does not, of course, it's not going to be the same. It's really going to depend on the beans, on the dripper, the filter, and the grinder. But I think most drippers should be able to get decent or good results with this approach. So instead of like something exactly like mine, I think it's just a good way of approaching something that's going to be a little bit more intense, a little bit more flavorful, experimental, and processed than like a washed coffee, you know? Speaking of the UFO Dripper B3, I think a few days ago, they released a black version of the UFO Dripper B3. And I'm like, really? Just when I bought one myself, I bought the clear one because it was the only one available. They just released the black one and I'm like, oh, that would have looked so good with my full black setup. The base for this one that I have right now, it's the clear one, but the base is black, so it doesn't look bad. It looks pretty good. It's clear, you know? It still matches well with like the Caraface, because the Caraface are clear as well. I don't drink from black Caraface. It would be nice to get one later on, but yeah, it's kind of like, oh wow, the timing. They really do just released a black one right after. そうですね、これは 多分、この前新しいなんかブラックバージョンが出たね。UFO Dripper V3 の。さっきクリアを買ったのに、僕のセットアップで、僕のギアでなんか揃えたら結構似合いそうと思ったのに、まあクリアでも大丈夫ですね。クリアはまだ大丈夫だ。Clear still looks good and I think like, yeah, I could sell it. I could like give it away and get the black one, but that's I think that's just too much for like for something that doesn't particularly look bad. If it was a big aesthetic difference, because the aesthetics in coffee gear, I think it matters when it comes to like this being a hobby for you to have a pleasant experience, you know, an enjoyable experience. But I still think it looks pretty nice, and also all the other drippers I have are black. So it is nice to have a clear dripper where I can like look at the flow from the outside as well. So I don't think it's gonna be a big deal. There is another size of the UFO dripper. That's the O1. I have the O2, so this is the bigger size. So maybe what I could do, if I really like the UFO dripper and I really feel like, oh, I need a black UFO dripper, is that I could get the smaller size, and that makes it so that I can pour a little bit closer to the bed. But for the time being, I really don't need that. I don't need another dripper. I already have 3, and that's already too many, perhaps. But it was just an interesting timing. そうですね、まあビジュアル的にがクリアのドリップの UFO-V3 がまだいいと思うし、そしてまあやっぱりいらないですね。まあ小さいのサイズ O1 サイズもあるから、今持ってるのは O2 だから、じゃあ将来、UFO ドリップが本当に好きなら、ブラックバージョンが本当に欲しいなら、じゃあ O1 バージョンを買いますね。But I don't know, there's a lot of pretty drippers. There's another one called the Gray Cano that's also like a matte black. It looks like a cylinder, but it takes conical filters. It also looks pretty cool. I absolutely do not need it. I already have the origami, I have the switch, and I have this. But it also looks pretty cool. So I don't know, when it comes to visuals, there's a lot of pretty drippers out there. So I've said this before and I'll say it, and I'll probably keep saying it. When buying like a coffee dripper, buying a coffee kettle, there are some things that you can take in mind when it comes to like the effect they have on the cup, but I think in the end, a very important factor is buying something that looks beautiful to you, looks pretty to you, and makes you want to use it. That's going to be one of the most important things in my opinion. Something that will look good in your kitchen counter. いや、そうですね。まあやっぱりなんかビジュアル的にいろんなおしゃれなドリッパーがありますね。この前グレイカノのドリッパーも見て、マットブラックがいい感じですね。でももう十分に持ってるからとりあえず買わないですね。だからコーヒーギアとしてまあもちろんコーヒーに影響あるけど、そしてそれも考えないといけないけど、まあやっぱりなんか見た目が好きならそれも結構大事ですね。だってそうやってコーヒーギアをもっと使いたくなるよね。Anyways, that was a big derail because of the new version of the dripper, but I'm actually going to proceed and explain the recipe now. じゃあちょっと話は違ったけど、じゃあコーヒーの説明を続きます。So we're going to be doing a gentle 3-pour recipe. The structure is not really going to change that much. I like 3 pours and I'm probably going to be staying on 3 pours most of the time. But we are going to be adjusting a few things which I'm going to be explaining shortly. そうですね、このレシピでもまだ3等式ですね。普通に3等式好きだから、あれはあんまり変わらないけど、割合とか注ぎ方も少しだけ調整しますね。 So today's coffees is The Alchemist by DAC Coffee Roasters. This is the second coffee that I imported from, that I got from Amsterdam. And if you guys remember the cream donut coffee that I had a few weeks ago, or maybe a few months ago, it's a few weeks ago, right? It's the same people that made this one. This is also natural. It's an anaerobic natural, so it's a pretty experimental and processed coffee. And this is another coffee from Rwanda. It's a red bourbon. We did have a red bourbon last coffee satsu, but that was we did have a red bourbon from Rwanda in 2 coffee satsus ago, and we had another one from Burundi on the last coffee satsu. So yeah, we're having a lot of African coffee lately. There's a red bourbon, and it's a natural process, so it's gonna be a little bit stronger, a little bit more flavorful, with notes of tropical fruit, ripe fruit, and cocoa nibs. And this roast is a medium light. It's still a light roast, but it's not as light as the ultralights that I usually drink. I believe, whatchamacallit? I think this coffee was made in collaboration with a farm in Rwanda. And I think the goal for this, even though this is a pretty strongly processed coffee and it's an experimental, natural, anaerobic natural, it is still meant to showcase like the main flavors of what coffee from Rwanda is like, what the flavor of coffee from Rwanda is like. And also it's supposed to be very fruity, like a fruit bomb kind of flavor. So it's supposed to be very flavorful, very, I don't know if juicy, but very fruity. So I think it's gonna be a pretty interesting brew with this recipe. And I have tried it before and it's pretty nice. I think it's one of the ones that I would say would fit milk pretty well, but we'll see how it goes with this recipe. そうですね、今日のコーヒーはこちらですね。The Alchemist、錬金術師ですね。That Coffee Roaster の。これはアムステルダムから頼んだのコーヒー豆ですね。品種は、ルワンダ。そして、種類が Red Bourbon ですね。この生成過程がナチュラルだから結構多分ワチとより味わいと香りがもっと強いね。味わいはトロピカルフルーツ、円熟フルーツ、そしてカカオニブですね。味の説明にちょっとなんかフルートボンブみたいな感じが書いてもらってたから、結構強い味なコーヒーですね。もう入れたことあった時に味は結構良かったから、このレシピに合いそうと思ったね。As for the beans, the ratios that we're going to be doing today, we're going to be doing the usual dose of 15 grams. We're going to be changing the water a little bit. We're going to be doing 255 grams of water, which is 5 grams more than what I usually do. We're basically extending the ratio from 116.6 to 117. This is because this is a more fruitful and stronger flavorful coffee that we can get away with using more water, and there's still going to be a balanced flavor. Otherwise, it might be a little bit too strong, a little bit too much. That's also the reason why we're going to be using cooler water. We're going to be starting out with 90 degrees Celsius. I usually do 92, so it's not a big difference. However, what we're going to be doing while we're brewing this coffee is that we're not going to put the kettle back on to the base. We're going to keep holding the kettle or put it somewhere else so that the water naturally cools down as we keep pouring. And that way it's going to achieve a pretty natural and gentle extraction compared to keeping it at the same temperature the whole time. そうですね。今回割合ちょっと変わりますね。いつも通り 15g を測りますが、今回はお湯を255使いますね。この豆は、このコーヒーは結構香りも味わいはもう強いから、我々はもっと伸ばした方がいいかなと思ってるし。そしてお湯を90度で入れますね。 そして注ぐときにケトルがベースに戻らない。そうやってなんか普通にお湯が冷めて注ぐときにね、そうやって抽出はもっと優しくなります。As for the grinder, this is a very important factor to this recipe. Not that we need to use this grinder in specific, but I am choosing to use the Comandante C40 instead of my usual one Cipresso CP6. And the reason being is that with this kind of like super processed coffees, these really strong coffees, getting a grinder that is very clarity focused and that tries to highlight every single nuance of the coffee, it might kind of bite me back. It could also highlight some parts that are a little bit too strong, a little bit too unpleasant. So instead we're going to be going with the Comandante, which is a little bit more of a balanced and a blendy grinder. That way we're going to be getting a sweeter and a less I don't know how to say it, less acidic cup that will not try to highlight every single nuance, but however it's going to blend everything pretty well together. This is an approach that I've done for a few other coffees in these Zatsus before. So and something that we're going to be doing here is we're actually going to be doing a medium fine grind. We're going to be doing 21 clicks here. The reason being is that the UFO dripper with the UFO type F filters are super fast. They're so fast. When I've been brewing lately, almost all my brews are under 2 minutes, which is not necessarily bad if the taste is good. However, I've been getting pretty decent results with a little bit of a finer grind, so this time we're going to be doing at 21 clicks with this recipe. We are going to make up for the fine grind by also being completely gentle on the pouring structure. If you see the 3 steps, we're doing a gentle pour the whole time, no agitation and no far pours. It's basically slow, steady, gentle pours that will have a steady, consistent contact time with the coffee grounds in the water. And yeah, that should be the approach that we're gonna be doing today. Of course, if you're doing you can adjust it to match your preferred ratios, your preferred amount of beans. But basically, the gist of it is use a blendy grinder, or use a grinder that's more focused on balance than clarity, pouring gently the whole time, and using cooler water. そしてこれはこちらのレシピですね。注ぐときにスッと優しく注ぎますね。今回はタリはあまり起こさない。このギアによってこのレシピいろいろ変われるけど、一番大事なポイントがもっとバランス得意なグラインダー。2番目。もっと多分90度以下の温度ですね。そして最後はちょっと優しくの等式。Alright. That's a pretty long explanation, but without further ado, we can go ahead and start brewing. 結構長い説明だったけど、じゃあコーヒー入れましょうか。Gonna drink a little bit of water and then we can go ahead and start. Okay, let's go. This time I tried explaining the recipe both in English and Japanese at the same time instead of going full English and full Japanese later. I think maybe that way it's a little bit more palatable to watch compared to just like one straight long explanation first and then one full explanation later. But I don't know, I'm still playing around and see how I'm more comfortable with. そうですね、今回は説明英語と日本語で同時に説明したから、あれは今日の研究ですね。Okay, so I'm gonna turn off the the filters here. There you go. The surroundings of my environment should be a little bit more audible now. 部屋の周りもっと聞こえるようになったね。So, we're gonna start by weighing 15 grams of coffee. This, I believe this coffee was roasted on June 25th, 2026, so it's been a bit, but it's still a pretty good time period, so no problems at all. そうですね、この豆は6月25日に焙煎されましたね。時間が経ったけど全然大丈夫です。We don't have to worry about too much CO2 in this case. Alright, so we're doing 15 grams. Oh, let me just... You can probably hear my fan pretty loudly. It's pretty hot in here. 結構扇風機聞こえるよね。暑いから。よし。So that is 15 grams. I'm gonna put that away. And we're gonna spray some water onto the beans to avoid static. 静電気のため、豆に水スプレーします。よし、so we're doing 21 clicks on the Comandante today. We have it at 0 right now. じゃあ、コマンダンテで21クリックですね。今回はもっと中細引きですね。結構なんか、まあ、グラインだとドリッパーによるけど、UFO ドリッパーと UFO タイプ F のフィルターがすごく速いから最近、ちょっとだけもっと細く入れてるけど、結果は悪くないよね。だから今回は21クリックで入れます。So, 21 clicks. Okay, so that should be... Alright, so that's one. $10. 20. 21. Perfect. The reason I am using 21, I have actually not grinded this coffee at 21 clicks with the Comandante before. I am using as a reference two people that have brewed coffee with the UFO and the Comandante. One of them is Mr. I don't want to mess up his name, but he basically won one of the... Let me check his name. But he won the USA qualifiers for the Brewers Championship. Oh, the US Brewers Nationals, Mr. John Dixon. Okay, yeah, there you go. Yeah, he used the UFO dripper and he grinded at 21 clicks. So, with a kind of similar recipe, so I thought it would be fitting. And then another brewer that also used the UFO, Mr. Pack, he also... he usually does 20 clicks for his washed and then 21 clicks for fermented, so that was my reference for me to try out. So that's gonna be something completely new that I'm gonna be trying. 今回は結構初めてですね。このコーヒーを21クリックで全然入れたことないけど、なんかアメリカのなんか勝利者が UFO ドリッパーとそしてコマンダンテ21クリックで買ったからあれを参考してたね。そしてパクさんの なんかナチュラルコーヒーレシピも参考して、彼も21クリックぐらいおすすめがあったから、じゃあ今日こうしましょうかなと思った。Alright, so Comandante grinding. Because we're grinding finer, it's going to be a little bit longer today. Not to mention that the Commandant is already a little bit longer than the easy price of it. Anyways, continuing. We're almost done. できました。Okay. Yoisho. So now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be preparing the dripper. We're going to be rinsing our filters and then we can start brewing. じゃあドリッパーを準備しますね。最初はフィルターを洗います。There's nothing wrong with using an automatic grinder. Recently, Felmo Book has been releasing very affordable but really nice hand grinders. They're not gonna be super fast, but they're electric, so it's pretty good for people that can't or just don't want to hand grind all the time without buying like a cafe level, a cafe grade grinder, you know. けどそうですね、まあ僕が手引ってるけど、まあ電気グラインダーが最近結構高くないのもリリースされてるから、なんか特になんかフェルムブックのブランドですね。だから結構いいから、ちょっとなんか CP6 みたいな感じあるし、今もう安いなんか安いデントグラインダーがあって嬉しいですね。まあ僕がマニュアルで弾くのが好きだけど。I personally do like hand grinding though. I don't know, it gives it a more analog experience that I like. でもまあやっぱり手で弾くのがアナログの経験があるし、個人的に好きですね。Okay, we're rinsing the dripper here. I mean the paper. Is there a difference in the final result with an automatic one? I mean, just like any other grinder, it might be different, right? But if the bursts are good, you should still be able to get a good results. まあ結果がまあやっぱりグラインダーが違うから多分結果はちょっと違うけど、クオリティいいなら絶対に美味しいコーヒー入れますね。All right. This is a super smelly coffee. It's a super. No. Let's say it a little bit more attractively in a way. This is a very aromatic coffee. Smelly coffee kind of sounds almost negative. But yeah, no, this is a very aromatic coffee, super fruity. It mentions cacao nibs on the flavor notes, which I I think I do smell it. It's not like a sour kind of fruit kind of vibe, but it's kind of like a caramelized fruit kind of vibe, you know? そうですね、香りなら、やっぱりカカオニブ書いてもらってるし、あれは結構わかるよ。そしてフルーツの香りもあるけど、酸っぱいではなくて、もっと、デザートな感じあるね。Decía que apestaba, pero apesta bonito. Qué bonito apesta este café. Pues no, ¿verdad? No. Apestar sería más como stink en inglés. Yeah, no. It's like, oh no, this coffee stinks pretty well. That does not sound nice at all. All right. Gonna get the drippers ready. Okay. So we should be ready now. もう準備してるよね。For I mean, this is basically it's pouring technique, but for this recipe, if you guys have a gooseneck kettle, I recommend holding the kettle close to your chest or close to your hips. It's close to your body, basically. Have one hand on the handle, your dominant hand, and then the other hand on the bottom of the kettle. And then instead of using your arm or your hand to pour, use your whole body. That way you'll be able to pour steadily and with a gentle, slow flow. Usually a lot of my recipes are pretty high in agitation, so you can get away with just using your kettle with one hand and then going crazy with it, right? It helps extraction. It's one of the ways that I usually brew my coffee myself. But for these gentle ways, it's a little bit better to be a little bit steady, and it looks pretty good. It's usually like what you'll see in the cafes because it looks aesthetically pleasing as a customer. But yeah, it's something I recommend for control. If you really need control with your kettle, then this is one way to do it. そうですね、ちょっと日本語で説明の頑張りますが、今回は優しく入れるために、ケトルを今回例えば右手じゃなくて両手で使って、そして体に近くに持って、そうやって体を全部使って注ぎますね。こうやってもっと簡単にコントロールできる注ぎ方ですね。僕の普通のレシピは結構対流がよく起こしてるし、そのコントロールはそんなに必要ないけど、今回はあれはおすすめですね。Alright, so we're gonna start. It's a little bit awkward for me because I am sitting down obviously, but if you're standing up, it's way easier. これはちょっと難しいけど、だって座ってるけど立ってるの方がいいよね。立ってる状態ですね。So we're gonna start. Oh wait, need to start the stopwatch. ちょっと時計ですね。I'm actually 88 degrees right now, but that's fine. Yes. So we're gonna start with 45 grams. You can go a little bit more, a little bit less. I usually do 60, but for this recipe, 45 should be enough. And we're gonna be waiting 30 seconds. じゃあ、30秒待ちますね。今回は45グラム蒸らししてるけど、そんなに大したことないですね。Alright, 30 seconds. So now we're gonna be pouring really gently in spirals until 150. じゃあ30秒から優しく150まで注ぎます。It's a little bit awkward, but There you go. Okay, let me adjust that. There you go. See, even at 21 clicks, it's going super fast. 21クリックでも早く注いでるよね。Now we're gonna wait until the water is mostly gone. This time I wrote around 1:30, so this is what we're gonna be waiting. そしてなんかお湯を流した時に、じゃあ後から優しく注ぎます。Until 255. 255までですね。There you go. That's crazy that this is 21 clicks. This is already done. もう全部流したけど、すごいよ、21クリックでも。So, around 10 minutes and 15 seconds was what it took. And we are done. じゃあもう完成しましたね。Alright, so I'm gonna put things away. ちょっと片付け。There you go. Hi. All right. Let's see. We're gonna. I smell like 香りは何だろう? I think it smells like peach and cherry, but the cacao effect is pretty. It's kind of like the cooking dark chocolate in a way. そうですね。香りがちょっとなんか桃とチェリーみたいな感じあるね。でもやっぱりなんかカカオも強いよ。なんか料理よく使ってるのカカオですね。カカオニブ。Alright, we're gonna pour onto our cup. And let's see how it goes. For anyone that has misophonia or is bad with drinking sounds, I'm gonna be slurping a little bit just to get some air into my mouth while I drink and be able to taste the notes of the coffee a little bit better. So yeah, just beware of that. ちょっと注意しますね。飲むの音が苦手人に、今回はコーヒー味わうため、ちょっとうるさく飲みますから、無理なら気をつけてね。Provecho, gracias, gracias. Gracias, gracias, arigatation. Alright. いただきます。That is very interesting. That is very interesting. 結構面白いですね。Alright, my microphone settings are back to normal. マイク設定が普通に戻りましたね。So, I have mentioned, right, that I have brewed this coffee before. I haven't brewed it with the UFO. I have brewed it with the origami and the switch. And usually I would get like a very spiced and strong flavor whenever I would drink it. But no, this recipe definitely helped balance things out. I do get the fruitiness, I get the sweetness of the cacao as well, but it does not feel overwhelming or like almost too spiced anymore. It feels like a nice sweet cup. While at the same time, it's not a gentle taste. It's not a gentle cup at all. It's a very balanced, like, sweet, fruity cup in a way. But it's not sour. There's not a lot of acidity either. I think this recipe is the lack of agitation. This recipe is gonna diminish a lot of the acidity. But sometimes acidity is not necessarily what we need for these types of coffee. So I think the approach, the objectives that I have with this approach are kind of working. The results are as expected. 今日そうですね、まあもうこのコーヒー入れた時に結構なんかスパイスが含まれますな感じがあったね。結構味が強かったし、多分ちょっとなんか後できるな感じがあったけど、なんか折り紙とスイッチで入れた時に、で今回はこのレシピで酸味があんまりなくて、結構甘くてフルーティーな感じありますね。このレシピの目標は、まあ、ずっと優しく抽出したかったから、まあやっぱり計画通りね。計画通り。So, according to Keikaku, the recipe went all according to Keikaku. But yeah, this is pretty nice. It's still not a washed. It's not gonna be a super clean, bright, and clear cup. But it is very well balanced. It is sweet, and I think it's a pleasant, punchy cup that I think people that like stronger coffees, people that don't like their coffee tasting like tea, compared to like the coffee that I normally like, will enjoy this approach for these kind of coffees. 今日そうですね。まあやっぱりこのコーヒーのバランスが良くて、けどバランスがいいのに味が強いよ。味が結構強くて、なんか茶みたい。まあ僕の好きなコーヒーはもっと茶みたいな感じがあるけど、多分もっと強いコーヒー好きな人、多分このコーヒーとこのレシピでこのレシピとこのコーヒーが多分気に入ると思います。Based on the impression, you can see how it might be good with milk. Yeah, this probably would still be good with milk, but I feel like if I was brewing this with milk, I would probably extract a little bit more so it's even stronger, or maybe grind a little bit finer just so that the milk can balance it out. Because I feel like right now it's at the right point to drink black, but maybe with milk it would be a little bit better to extract a little bit more. そうですね。ミルクと結構似合いそうと思うけど、多分ミルクつけたらもっと粗びくひいて少しだけもっと抽出してみるかな、した方がいいかな。そうやってなんかミルクとのバランスがある。The thing with these like anaerobic processed coffees, it's kind of like it kind of gives you an almost winey or alcoholic-ish aftertaste. And it makes sense, right? Because they're more fermented, but yeah, it's kind of interesting. そうですね。まあやっぱりなんかこの結構もっとプロセスされるコーヒーはちょっとワインみたいな感じあるよね。なんか特に後味で。まあやっぱりナチュラルだからワインと似てるのがなんかセンスがあるよね。意味があるよね。I mentioned this is an anaerobic natural, so if anyone's unfamiliar with the term, basically anaerobic just means that this coffee was processed with without the beans making any contact with oxygen, and that helps it give it a little bit more of a stronger flavor. 今日そうですね。今日のコーヒーはアナエロビックプロセスだから、アナエロビックはやっぱりなんか意味はO2 をフレスになんか発酵されるから、そうやって味はもっと強くなるよね。Reminds me of biology class. I think maybe, yeah, I guess perhaps the part of like growing the coffee beans is closer to biology, but I feel like brewing coffee is closer to chemistry in a way. It's crazy just how deep people go with the water composition, the brewing method. Coffee is it's so interesting. It's the coffee, the flavor can taste so much just depending how much it's just basically the grounds and the water, right? But just how the way you pour water into it changes so much. And the shape it's basically standing on while it's getting water poured on also affects so much. So it's really fascinating. そうですね、やっぱりなんかコーヒーはちょっと科学研究みたいな感じあるよね。入れるときに特になんかハンドドリップがだって考えたらコーヒーはただコーヒーとお湯だけど注ぎ方によってドリッパーによってそんなに味が変わるからすごいよね。トライアンドエラー、そうです。なんかハンドドリップが一緒トライアンドエラーみたいな感じあるよね。いろんな知識があるからネットで簡単に美味しく入れるけど多分初心者なら最初のコーヒーはちょっといろいろ入れないといけないね。うまくなるまで。Have you experimented using different water sources for coffee? For example, spring water tastes differently depending on the minerals. I use reverse osmosis water for most of my coffees. I did not go as far as like getting distilled water and then adjusting the composition myself. Maybe in the future, if I want full control of my coffee and I want to get even better, I could get into water composition, but for now, I'm not doing that. I'm not really doing that as much. I'm just making sure to use good water that's low in minerals, but not completely void of them. Like basically, soft water is pretty good. So yeah, if no matter what you do, the coffee you're brewing is not as good as you would expect, then perhaps changing the water might be something to look into. Like you don't even have to do anything fancy. Like maybe get a few brands of bottled water and then try and see the differences, you know. They worry about messing the process up by accident earlier into getting into coffee making. I still mess up by accident sometimes. It happens, you know. But that's okay. Sometimes happy accidents happen and it's like, wait. This is actually quite good. And then you can replicate from that, you know. Hard water always gunks up my machine. Yeah, the thing with hard water though is that it can build scale on your equipment also, so you gotta be careful when using it. Yo, そうですね。まあやっぱり時々こう自分で入れるときに事故があるよね。でもその事故のおかげでいろいろ学べるからあれもいいよ。そして時々あの事故のおかげで新しいの美味しい入れ方を見つけられるからいいんですね。There's also basically something that's very important when it comes to coffee brewing. Something important to understand, right, is that when you're brewing by yourself, it's gonna take a while for you to get really good. For you to get good, for you to get a coffee that you're like pleasantly happy with. Pleasant has been my word of the day. I've been using it a lot. It's very understandable that maybe your first few pours are gonna be a little bit rough. So it's important to be patient with yourself. It's a learning experience, and while there is a lot of resources online that can help you, guide you, in the end, everyone's environment is different, right? So if you're doing pour over, it's in the first few brews might be a little bit underwhelming. Or you could just get a switch and then just forget about everything. Get a switch, you get a clever dripper, and do immersion, and then that's a little bit that's way easier than doing pure pour over, you know? いや、そうさね、まあ難しい初心者の時間をスキップしたかったら、じゃあ多分スイッチじゃクレーバードリッパーを使った方がいいよね。まああれは10日じゃなくて紳士プロセスだからちょっと違うけど、美味しく入れるのが簡単ですね。Of course, it does not mean that it doesn't have its merits or demerits, right? Its benefits or pros and cons. The switch, when brewing using the switch functions, it uses an immersion method, kind of like a French press. Same with the clever dripper. The clever dripper is full immersion, so the taste of the coffee is gonna be slightly different, or significantly different, I would say. It's gonna be a little bit more concentrated. It's not gonna be as clear, but it's you're able to get a pretty balanced cup, and it's really hard to go wrong with those. So if the objective is just having a nice cup of coffee that you can brew easily every morning, then perhaps an immersion or an immersion percolation hybrid brewer would be the play. We did use a hybrid method last time for the Nas Jafar World Championship winner recipe, and that combines both and gets you a little bit of both options. Personally, I still prefer doing mostly pure percolation, but just hybrid brewing has been really popular lately, so it's pretty versatile. Super versatile. And whenever I watch like the Brewers Championships lately, I think most of the time now you see a lot of at least 2 or 3 people using hybrid methods on the finals, either with a switch or with something else, or like with the switch in combination with something else also. It's kind of interesting how it has evolved. But there's still people that make it to the finals using pure percolation, so that thing's not gonna ever gonna go away, you know. で、そうですね、最近なんかハイブリッドの入れ方が結構流行ってるよね。特になんか大会でファイナリストが普通になんかスイッチなどハイブリッド新シートとかできるのドリッパー使ってますね。もちろんなんかピュア10日のドリッパーはのユーザーがまだいるけど、最近なんか2つできるのが結構いいよね。I think a few days ago I was watching the Panama Brewers Championship that happened a few days ago, and the winner was using the UFO dripper without the switch or anything, so it was nice watching. And it's like, wow, he's using what I use, you know. I think it was Jordan Sagalio, I think is his name. It was a pretty interesting because he blended a few he used a coffee from Hacienda La Esmeralda, which is basically like the origin of the geisha coffee, the geisha variant in Panama. So yeah, it was nice watching his presentation. Pretty cool. そうですね、最近なんか大会の話で多分昨日だったかな、昨日なんかパナマの大会を見てて勝利者がパナマのなんかオリジナルゲイシャ種類のコーヒー使ってて、そして UFO ドリッパーも使ってたから、お揃いねって思ってたけど、まあやっぱりいろんなことが変わったけど、ドリッパー使ってるか UFO いいねって思った。It's kind of, I don't know. I mean, in the end, as long as you're happy, who cares what other people are using, right? As long as you're satisfied with what you're using. But it's always cool, like, watching, wow, I got this result with something I also like. It helps me validate my taste. Now I can have some credibility. Not really, though, but... It's cool to see. It's cool to see. そうですね、まあやっぱりなんか自分の入れ方が好きなら周りの人何を使ってるのがあまりなんか関係ないでしょ。でも時々まあ同じギア使っていろいろ褒められて大会勝てるまで見るのがまあちょっと安心できるよね。やっぱり自分の選択が良かったねって考えちゃうもんやね。Even the way Zeal makes his coffee with a clever dripper. So he makes coffee pretty appropriate. He's long past those microwave days. I think it's over a year. He got the clever dripper for his birthday, right? So it's already been a year since it's already been over a year since he started brewing coffee with the clever dripper. And even then people still say the microwave coffee though. The microwave coffee thing, so. Unfortunately, that image is still there, I guess. was a strong impression. Yeah, that's the thing, right? Sometimes, especially as a liver, the first impression is really important because, it's kind of what will last, you know? It takes a lot of work to change that. So perhaps a good recipe or method for beginners? I think the immersion method with a clever dripper heart usage would be good. Usually most of my recipes, I have my recipes are pretty simple and I do that for a reason. I'm not gonna be doing a very complicated 5-pour temperature changing recipe on the daily basis. That's not gonna be sustainable for me. I like keeping my recipes simple. Even to the point where like the numbers, the number of the quantity of pours is even and easy to remember. So usually most of my pours are pretty okay beginner wise. I think they're pretty forgiving, but maybe this one that has the gentle pour would take a little bit if you're not used to controlling the flow of your kettle. But otherwise, I think you guys can do it. そうそうね、まあ初心者におすすめレシピ。まあやっぱりなんかクレーバードリッパーやハリオスイッチがおすすめできるけど、僕が配信で普通に紹介するレシピがそんなになんかステップが忙しくないし、結構、そして数字も覚えやすいし、まあ初心者もぜひやってみるのをおすすめです。Lately for the UFO dripper, because it's what I've been using right now. Been testing it out. Let's see, where's my text? Remember this? This is the chart of how important one thing is to another. We used that on the last coffee Zatsu, I think. そうですね、これは1から6まで影響あるの。コーヒーのなんか入れるときに影響あるものね。So usually what I go for my recipe, it's gonna be just 50 bloom, and then 100 gram pour, 100 gram pour, agitation pour, and that's it. This is my daily recipe with the UFO dripper. It's pretty easy, right? 50, 150, 250. Sometimes if I need to change it, if I want to do a little bit less, then I'll do 50, 90, 90. Oh, that's 900. Yeah, sometimes I'll do like 50, 90, 90, and then I'll get 230. Or 50, 85, 85. Something like that. And that way it's really easy to change depending on how much water you know. I usually do 15 grams to 250 water. But if I want to do 240, if I want to do 225, then I can easily change the other two pours, right? And then the bloom can stay the same. Sometimes I do 60 bloom also. I feel like once you have a easier base, then you can... a really simple base, and you can change other things. And it becomes really easier. For example, if I want sweetness... Let's go with bloom. We have 2 steps. 3 steps. Bloom, and the base is 50 grams. Then pour 1, pour 2. This is just how I approach things lately. まあこれはまあ僕の考え方でね、レシピを作るときに。If I want more sweetness, I will maybe do a smaller bloom by a little bit, 45, and then 30 seconds. Less time. If I want maybe more acidity, I will do maybe 60 grams. And then 45 seconds to a minute for acidity. Which is usually what I like. I usually do 45 seconds. And then I can change... pour 2 to 90. And that way it's 250. But it's kind of like, this is why it's, well, I do introduce a lot of recipes on my streams for variety. It's really good to have one recipe that you really understand so that you can change these things according to what you want out of your coffee. And then that way, you're not really perplexed. It's like, what am I doing wrong? I changed all these things, but it's kind of like you're changing all these things one by one, right? Sometimes I won't even change the recipe. Sometimes I'll just keep the recipe as usual. So 50, 100, 100. And then I'll just change the grind size, or I'll change the temperature of the water. The grind size is gonna make a bigger difference than the... Oh, I just closed the thing. The grind size is gonna make a way bigger difference than the recipe itself. So that should probably be the first thing you change. But yeah, that's usually how I approach my recipes. And it really isn't that hard. It just takes a little bit of time for you to know what changes what and how, and comparing, and then finding out what you like, you know, because this is what I like, but it's not what everyone's gonna like. Maybe if I brewed coffee for someone else and I didn't know what they liked, I would probably do something like, I don't know, maybe 50 grams bloom. And then, whatchamacallit? I think I would probably go with a 225 to 230 total volume. So, let's see, how would I divide it? Probably like, it might even be... Might even be easier to do 45, just number-wise. But basically it would just be 50 and then pour until 150 and then pour until 225. There you go, that's an easier way to doing than thinking of like even numbers, right? That's probably what I would do for most people, just because maybe the way I brew coffee would be a little bit too light for some. So that's how I would approach it. So much dedication is needed for a really nice coffee? Not really. This is just, this is nerdy stuff, but to make really nice coffee, all you need to do is find what works for you. And it's really not that bad. 今日そうですね、まあいろんななんかレシピの考え方を説明してるけど、美味しく入れるためにこんなに考えなくても大丈夫ですね。ただ僕がコーヒーが好きだから自分でレシピ作ってるけど、まあ作ってより考えてるっていうの方がいいかな。言った方がいいかな。でも普通のレシピはこちらですね。 250、最初の蒸らしは 50g。あとで150まで注いで、最後250まで注ぎます。Is it good to really familiarize yourself with different beans from varying regions or countries? I think it would be good for you to know, hey, whenever you're buying coffee beans, right? You could think of like... You could think, so you can have an idea of how a certain coffee will taste based on the origin and then the tasting notes in the process. So if you're familiar with how a process tastes like, if you're familiar with how a certain origin tastes like, then it's going to be easier for you to feel like, oh, maybe I will like this one when you buy it. I personally need to get better at like recognizing by origin because I usually judge by process and flavor notes and end up buying a lot of the same, which I feel like it might have limited a little bit of my knowledge, but I have tried a lot, and I usually drink Colombian, which I really like. I really like Colombian, I really like Panama. Ethiopia is nice as well. But I feel like there hasn't been any origin that's like, I absolutely do not like any coffees from this place. There's usually one that I like. Because coffee can be processed in so many ways. And there's so many varieties also. But yeah, it is always good to familiarize yourself with, so that you can understand what you like, and then after that, make the most of your purchases, you know? そうですね、まあ、やっぱりなんか、品種を詳しくなるのが、まあ結構メリットがあるよね。そうやってなんか買うときに、なんか、生成過程とか品種とか、味わいとかを結構分かったら、もう新しい豆を買うときに、もうなんか、多分これは好きそうのアイディアはもっとクリアなイメージが作れるから、それはいいよね。ちなみに、スイッチでよく作るレシピがある。やっぱりなんかスイッチが簡単なレシピがおすすめですね。スイッチなら多分、まあ世界大会のチャンピオンと似てるかもしれないですね。なんかオープン多分125まで注いで、then 1 minute これはジャパングリッシュになってるけど close 125 grams then openこんな感じかな。結構シンプルですね。まあ250ならね。240ならじゃあ125じゃなくて、等式は120になりますね。But yeah, this would be the approach if usually for like a Hario switch, it's super easy, right? It's just 2 pours, and it's the same amount. That's all you need for the switch to brew tasty coffee. Of course, it's gonna depend on your grind size. A medium grind size is pretty good for this. But yeah, we're just gonna do percolation with the open switch. We pour the first half, and then at 1 minute we close. We pour the second half. We let it steep for like around a minute, and then we open. We drain. That's what makes it so easy. That's all you need to do. And then because we're using the switch and we can have the immersion, the closed state of the brewer, then we don't really need to have a super fancy technique or a super refined technique for the kettle. It is still recommended to use a gooseneck kettle because of the open step. However, it's a lot more forgiving. Which is something that I really like about the UFO dripper, because I feel like because of the shape, the angle, even if it's just pure percolation, it's way easier or way more forgiving than a V60 or an origami. そうですね。まあやっぱり、このスイッチの1と目と2と目が音量が同じだから結構覚えやすいよね。低めなら結構ミディアムがおすすめ。そして、まあやっぱりなんか、閉じた状態の機能があるし、注ぎ方はそんなに関係ないですね。だからテクニックなそんなに関係ない。でもちろんなんかギアによって、豆によって、引き目と、なんか、温度を調整して、いろいろ試して方がいいよね。Of course, just for the switch, and depending on the grinder you're using, depending on the water you're using, it is good to switch up and change the grind size and the temperature to what is needed. But personally, medium tends to work fine for these. There is actually there's actually a recipe that I wanted to try for the Hario Switch. Maybe I can try it next time. Which is based on coffee cupping, if you guys are familiar with that. Okay, I finished my coffee. That was pretty nice. Oh, 全部飲みましたね。結構美味しかったわ。But yeah, as I was saying, this is gonna be a recipe. This is a recipe based on like coffee cupping, which if you guys are not familiar, basically whenever coffee beans are tasted, the producers don't actually brew them on a B60. Sometimes they'll brew them on different methods to know how it tastes and so that they can recommend a brewing method or a brewing recipe. However, how people taste this, they usually they grind the grounds, they steep the grounds in water. They let it steep for like a good 4 to 5 minutes, and then they use a spoon to taste the quality of to taste the flavor of the beans and the flavor of the coffee. They don't really like use a filter or use a cone or anything. That's usually the regular way of like appreciating the notes and trying to understand the coffee, you know. And there's a few places where you can go to coffee cupping sessions where they'll let you like taste all these variety of coffees with your little spoon, and then you'll be trying out cups this way, you know. So the philosophy behind this recipe would be to use the switch and on a completely closed state, just pour all of the water. All the water in one go. Let it steep for like around 4 minutes with a coarse grind size, and then after that you just release and you're done. Super simple recipe. I haven't tried it though, so I would like to try it out and see how it goes, because it's very different than what I normally do, you know. I like the clarity and the cleanness of percolation. So someone who's never drunk coffee, you make it sound so fun to brew and taste it. It is very fun. It's probably why it's my main hobby right now. My other hobbies ended up just becoming my job at the end, so very grateful for this position to be in. Okay, そうですね。多分また今度なんかカッピングみたいなスイッチレシピを紹介したいよね。みんなはカッピング知ってるかな？日本語でカッピングって言うかな？普通になんかコーヒー豆売ってるのところが、まあ B60 とかなんかフィルターなしでなんかコーヒーを初めて味わうためにカップで ただ、なんかコーヒーのコーナーを紳士して、カップ、スプーンで、そうやってなんかコーヒーをちゃんと味わうかな。それはなんか普通のコーヒープロデューサーが、コーヒーの味わいを初めて味わうよね。そして、このスイッチのレシピは、これは完全紳士のなんか閉じた状態で、全部のオイルを注いで、なんか5分ぐらいに待ってたら、後で開けて、それ以上のレシピです。味はどうやって変わるかなと思うけど。ちょっとなんか、片言の説明すみませんだけど。英語ならコーヒーカッピングって言うよね。Speaking of coffee producers, though, I think recently I was watching videos on like the youngest coffee producer right now, and I believe he's from Ecuador, and he's 19 years old, and he's getting really well known in the coffee world because of his the coffee he's producing. But 19 years old is crazy. It's really nice to see young people interested in the whole inheriting like the coffee business, you know, and also like producing and very passionate about it. It's nice to see young people in it as well. Very, very, very happy that he's getting recognition. And I felt Latin American also, so. Because also ね、コーヒープロデューサーの話、なんか最近これは読んでたね、最近一番若いのコーヒープロデューサーを人気になってるよね。彼が、エクアドルからの19歳の人ですね。本当にすごいよ。そして嬉しいですね。だって、青春も、なんかコーヒーの文化も気に入ってるし、なんか、バリスタや入れるだけじゃなく、なんかプロデュースするまで、あれがいいよね、やっぱり。Let's see. What was his name? His name is Jose Gijon. Jose Gijon, I think is how you pronounce it. I would want to try one of his coffees. And it's not just him, right? It's his family being involved, but it's cool that he's so involved in it already. Finca Soledad. Whoa. I see. そうだね、名前はホセ・ヒホンですね、エクアドルから。そして彼のフィンカ・ソレダから家族とコーヒーを作ってるし、飲ませてるし、すごいよね、やっぱり。すごすぎるよ。また今度、注文してみようかな。Maybe I should try ordering some of his coffees. Lately, I don't know. I feel like I have a bucket list of places where I want to coffee to. What's up with my English? I have a bucket list of places where I want to order coffee from. And a few of them, like the picky chemists, they're just always they're just always sold out, so it's really hard. Shoebox was one of them, and I finally was able to order them, and they're both really tasty. I've already introduced them on stream, but yeah, no, sometimes it's just hard because people are just waiting and waiting until they finally get in stock, and then they immediately sell out, so it's kind of like, I have to camp out, you know, online, but I have to camp out. そうですね、ちょっとなんかバケットリストがあるよね。注文したいのコーヒープロデューサーから。例えば、シューボックスもいつか飲んでみたいかなって前から思ってたけど、そしてようやく配信で初めて飲んでたね。あれは嬉しいけど、あれはまだなんか難しいのところがあるよ。なんかずっとなんか売り切るな感じあるから難しい。なんか還付しないといけないサイトで。そして高いよ。Not to mention that they're expensive. But yeah, maybe one day, maybe. We'll see how it goes. まあいつかね。そうそうそう、コンクールみたいな感じ。戦争みたいな感じ。It's kind of like a war, but for coffee. The Holy Coffee War. So. セイコーフィ戦争だ。Speaking of coffee wars, I guess a tournament is kind of like a coffee war, right? I think someone asked if I keep up with the Brewers Cup. I do. I'm not super like watching everything and super up to date, but I do watch the big events like the World's Brewers Cup. And also recently, it's kind of hard to watch because there's not a lot of videos, but I think there was the Origami Cup a few days ago, and I was really interested in seeing the recipes and seeing if maybe I could showcase something on stream. Because it's always like a good material for me to try something new on stream as well, so. I kind of want to go and research a little bit more. そうですね、この前なんか折り紙カップもあったし、面白いなレシピがあるなら、じゃあ配信でちょっと入れてみたいよね。使ってみたいわ。Fate Strange Fake Coffee. Yeah, but without the fake. I want real coffee. They could make an anime about coffee competitions. For the past 2 or 3 coffee satsus, I've been talking about how I want my competitive coffee anime. They definitely could. またコフィーアニメの話に戻るよね。まあやっぱりやるならいいね。いつか。Speaking of anime, today I woke up. I don't know if it ever happens. Like you just wake up and suddenly remembering something nostalgic that like you had not thought about it for years. This is completely different from coffee though. But I woke up today and I thought, Metabots. And it was really, I don't know, I feel like I got a lot of flashbacks from my childhood. I had not thought about Metabots at all. In forever. So I spent like the whole morning just researching and looking up what Metabots has been up to. Over the years, you know? まあアニメの話だけど、これは結構違う。まあ話題は全然違うけど、時々なんかあったことあるのだって急になんか目覚めて、全然なんか 数難投資から全然考えてないものを覚えるものが、考えてなかったものを覚える。今回は今朝、メダロット思い出したね。本当に懐かしい。だから今朝はずっとなんかメダロットをちょっと調べてた。懐かしすぎるよ。Are they still ongoing? I think there's like a gacha mobile game going on right now. 今はガチャゲームあるよね。なんか携帯の。Are you a big fan of robot stuff or something like that? I've actually like maybe since younger I wasn't super like a big robot person, but Metabots was something that aired in Latin America when I was young, so it was one of the shonen anime that I got to watch growing up. And it was nostalgic. It wasn't my favorite thing ever, but I did watch it every now and then. So it was it's part of my childhood, you know. そうですね、まあ子供の頃はそんなにメダロットの大ファンなかったけど、まあラテンアメリカでアニメが放送されてたから、まあよく見てたね。だから懐かしい。スペイン語版でね。I remember, to no one's surprise, I really liked Rokusho. Rokusho was my favorite because, I don't know, he was like the lonely metabot without an owner. And he was like, I don't know, always by himself with his little cloak. He was really cool. そうだね、一番好きなメダロットはやっぱりなんかRokushoだったね。彼がかっこよかった。ずっとなんか一人でいて、かっこよかったわ。The emo trope. He was really nice though. He was super nice. His goal was basically, he was very against violence, and he wanted basically to respect and protect all living forms. So, I don't know, he was really cool. かっこよかったね。彼が、みんなに優しくて、かっこいいのにみんなに優しくて、ただ、生きるものを守りたかったね。Because sometimes there's like the cool, edgy character, but he's kind of like mean or rude, right? Almost like, I feel like almost tsundere-like, but no, he was pretty kind. He was just on his own journey by himself, which I respected. I really liked this kid. だって時々なんかライバル的なキャラクターが時々なんかツンデレな性格があるよね。でも6章はちょっと違うから気に入ってたね。What a nostalgic memory, Metabots. 本当に懐かしいわ。クーデレかな。まあロボットだったから多分クーデレな感じが合ってるかな。Yeah, I wonder if Kudere was a good way of describing him. I do like Kuderes after all. But yeah, he wasn't as expressive as Metabe. So it kind of kind of matches. 確かになんかメタビとなんか主人公のメタビと比べたらそんなになんかちょっとクールな性格があったし、クーデレが合ってるかな。Metabi was cool too though. He was very expressive, almost like a child. But he grew along the series, so it was nice watching. でもメタビの成長を見守るのがもうかっこよかったね。メタは逆だった全然。And I'm trying to think like what other anime have I not thought about in years? Or what will spark for me to remember it again? 絶対になんか他の全然思い出せないアニメがあるかな。久しぶりに。And then sometimes I feel like rewatching, but then it's hard, you know, at the time. 直撃の相馬 a nostalgic anime? It feels like a recent anime nowadays. Or at least it feels for me. It doesn't feel like an old anime. 直撃の相馬はもう懐かしいアニメなの？違うよ。最近のアニメじゃない？ありえないでしょ。Pokemon or Digimon. I think Pokemon and Digimon are definitely very nostalgic, but I feel like the thing is Pokemon is everywhere still. Pokemon is everywhere and Digimon is also like pretty present, so it's not easy. It's easy to keep remembering, you know. Metabots I had completely forgotten about for a while. That's why it's a little bit different. そうですね、なんかポケモンかディジモンかな。ポケモンとディジモンが結構周りにはまだメディアがあるし、よく見るから全然忘れられないでしょ。でもメダロットなら完全に全然思い出せなかったわ。Fue en 2015 cuando se emitió Shokugeki. ¿Qué? ¿Ya pasaron 11 años? No puede ser. 直撃の様から11年の？マジ？やば。That's crazy. Sonic X とか懐かしいよね。子供の頃スペイゴ版見てた。Yeah, Sonic X is also pretty nostalgic. I grew up with the Spanish version. That's where in the Spanish dub of Sonic X, Dr. Eggman was called Doctor Huevo. And it sounded horrible. Tails was called Colas. It was a very literal translation, and I don't know, it felt weird because I mean I grew up playing the games in English, so yeah, no. Full Metal Alchemist. Full Metal Alchemist is it's definitely like nostalgic, but it's not an anime that I could easily forget about. Like right now, we brewed the Alchemist coffee, right? The moment I bought this coffee, I'm like, Full Metal Alchemist, like in my head, like just the otaku section in my head is going like that, you know. I don't think I can see the word alchemist without thinking of like Edward or something. So I feel like it's another one of those series that are so iconic that they're kind of hard to forget. Not to say that Metabots isn't iconic, but it's just how present it was in my life, you know, in the present day. 今日そうですね、まあ鋼の錬金術師はあれはもう結構なんかクラシックすぎるから忘れるのが難しいよね。いまだになんか今日のコピーを入れて、まあ名前は アルケミストでしょ、錬金術師。コーヒーの名前見て、鋼の錬金術師みたいな感じ。なんか頭のオタクのフリオが思ってたね。だから多分忘れないかもしれない。ドラえもん is also one of those that are super like they're so iconic that it's kind of hard to forget about. Satch Bell! Oh my god, Satch Bell! Oh, Satch Bell! I really liked Satch Bell when I was a kid. Unfortunately, they never aired the whole thing in Spanish, so I never got to finish it. I remember being so sad because they would just restart to the beginning of the episode, and oh my god, I couldn't finish it. Wow, that is nostalgic. ガッシュベルですね。ガッシュベルが懐かしいけど、スペイン語版がなんか完全に翻訳されてなかったから全部は見れなかったね。あれは悲しかったけど、子供の頃結構気に入ってたね。ガッシュベル。英語バージョンなのはサッチだったけどね。It was very interesting how like they had to figure out a way to translate like the puns because, for example, the main attack for the main ability for Satch was a Saker, right? Saker, which the main character finds out because in Japanese he's saying like fusakeru na, and then he ends up saying sakeru, and that's how the ability comes out. But in English, like how do you make that come out? Or in Spanish also, it's kind of like it doesn't make sense, right? But as a kid, you really don't question those things. Like, okay, that's cool. Because also ね、英語版とスペイン語版がちょっとまあ難しかったね。やっぱりなんか翻訳するの。だってガッシュベルの能力の技が避けるだったね。なんかマスターがなんか能力を言ったら技が出るけど、そしてなんか見つけるときになんか主人公がふざけるなって言ってたね。ふざけるなのを避けるって言ってたから、能力があったね。技が出た。でもスペイン語版と英語版がどうやって出るの？普通にふざけるなって言わないでしょ。面白かった。でも子供の頃全然あれも考えてなかったね。気づかなかった。It really wasn't something that I would pay attention as a kid. I remember even playing a game on was it on the GameCube or the PlayStation 2? Oh yeah, the GameCube. I remember having a GameCube game about it. It was pretty fun to play. GameCube のゲームも持ってたね。あれも楽しかった。It was like a fighter game. Wow, so nostalgic. 懐かしすぎるよ。そう、格ゲーだったね。Fist of the North Star, I actually didn't grow up watching. I don't know if it's because it wasn't... it was probably localized in Spanish, but I just didn't... It wasn't aired or when I was watching anime as a kid, so... I didn't get to watch it. 北斗の拳ですね。まあ多分、スペイン語版があったけど多分、放送されてなかったね。アニメ見てた時に。だから、子供の頃見てなかったね。 Let's see. What else was I watching that was pretty nostalgic? I remember this one every now and then. It's not super it's not one that I can completely forget about, but oh my god, I remember watching Wolf's Rain every now and then. I never finished it, or I never watched it at all. I would watch it whenever it would show up on TV, and it was always so depressing. Every time I watched it, everyone was sad. But I don't know, the environment was really interesting, or the atmosphere, you know. 子供頃でね、これはなんか全部見てなかったけど、テレビで会った時にちょっとだけ見てたね。Wolf's Rain。あれは懐かしかったけど、でもなんかちょっと悲しいな雰囲気があって、面白いと思ったね。What else would I watch? I would watch Twin Speaker a lot also. The opening song for Twin Speaker was very, very memorable for me. I think it's Vina Sei, but it's called Kujira in the full version. That one also had like an atmosphere that it wasn't completely sad, but it was kind of like it felt bittersweet most of the time. And I don't know, there was something that attracted me to it. Very like slice of life science fiction. いや、そうですね。2つのスピーカーがもうよく見てたね、子供の頃。あの雰囲気が悲しいじゃなくて、ちょっとなんかひこもこもの感じがあって、面白いと思ったね。そしてオープニングテーマソングが最高だ。Captain Tsubasa. I feel like Captain Tsubasa is called Captain Tsubasa is actually called in Spanish Super Champions, Super Campeones. That one's so iconic in Latin America that I don't think anyone can forget about it. It's just so iconic and famous. そうですね、ラテンアメリカでキャプテン翼がすごく有名ですね。あれは絶対に忘れられない。忘れられない。スペイン語のタイトルはスーパーチャンピオンズだったけどね。And they even changed the names for the characters also. Because Mr. Tsubasa, the protagonist, his name is in Spanish, his name is Oliver Atom. Oliver Atom. So it was it's pretty interesting how they changed the name. そして名前は変わったね。翼がオリバーになったね。オリバーアトム。そうですね。まあ、南米だけじゃなくて、ラテンアメリカ完全にサッカーが好きだから。誰ってなっちゃう。Yeah, no, imagine like going to Japan and being like, oh yeah, I love Oliver. And then they'll be like, who, Evans? Cool. Cool, he's my senpai. But yeah, no. that would be funny. そうですね。多分、日本にいて、なんか、オリバー君が好きって言ったら、誰ねっちゃうね。 A 番2かな。まあ、いい先輩ですね。かっこいい先輩ですね。But yeah, no, I think nowadays they don't change the names as much, but back then the character names used to change a lot. Takao from Beyblade was Tyson. I mean, Satoshi from Pokemon is Ash. But for example, Saint Seiya, he was still Seiya. That did not change. Cardcaptor Sakura, she was still Sakura. It was fine. So it really depended on the series. Ichigo from Tokyo Mew Mew, she was Zoe. But I mean, I think that was more because of the English stuff that it was based on. ¿Shinichikudo era Bobby Jackson? No puede ser. ¿En serio? Yo nunca me vi Conan, así que no conozco. ¿En serio se llamaba Bobby? ¿De todos los nombres le pusieron Bobby? 待って、僕は、コナンが見たことないし、全然知らなかったけど、こんな、しにちくんの名前がスペイン語でボビーなの？ボビー・ジャクソンだ。ボビーくん？ How Asakura being sick? I am so glad. I am so glad the Shaman King Spanish dub was based on the Japanese version instead of the English version, because we still got Yo, we still got How, we still got Hana, we got all the original names, we got the original songs, we got the original everything. I am so glad. そうですね、シャマンキングなら、日本語のバージョンに元にしてて、名前は全然同じだったね。完全に同じだった。ホロホロに含まれてる。いや、ホロホロwas also the same. El papá de Lan era el detective Guzmán. Parece... Ya, parece novela. That's so funny. ナルトもナルトが変わってなかったね。ナルトがほとんど同じだった。Yeah, I think Naruto didn't change at all, did it? They changed the names of the techniques, but not the names. 名前が同じだったけど、なんか、技の名前、術の名前はちょっと違かったね。I remember being so confused as a kid because I watched them a lot in Chinese and they're the same characters but completely different pronunciations. Oh, that makes sense. It would happen, right? Yu-Gi-Oh! Changed them a lot. And since the Spanish dub was based on the English one, we got the English names. We didn't get Junoichi, we got Joey.そうですね、遊戯王もいろいろ変わってたね。遊戯と海馬が同じだったけど。Ansu was Teiya. What changed was the pronunciation for Sasuke. I think I mean, in the Spanish version they say Sasuke, so it's kind of similar. I think something funny or interesting about the English dub. I didn't watch a lot of the English dub for Naruto, but it's kind of funny how everyone goes like Naruto, but then there's Sasuke saying just going like Naruto. It's like, wow, Sasuke's actually saying it correctly. そう、ジョノイチ君が上位になるよ。そしてニューヨークのアクセントで、なんかブルックリンのアクセントで話せたわ。ホンダがトリスタンだったよ。トリスタン。Let's see, for Pokemon, right? I mean, all the names change in Pokemon pretty much. Except for, I mean, I think most of them change. But Kasumi is Misty, which makes sense, right? It kind of translates. Dawn is Hikari. Oh, Hikari is Dawn. May stays the chain. No, May is Haruka. Haruka is May. So, ポケモンのアニメ、みんなのキャラクターが、みんなの名前はほとんど変わってたね。What else also had like often name changes? サトシがアッシュだ。Satoshi is Ash in English, right? English and Spanish. Ash Ketchum. そして名字もあるよ。日本語バージョンが名字ないでしょ。I think the Japanese version doesn't even have a last name for Ash, but no, there's like, let's give him Ketchum. Let's give him a government name. This is kind of like Koshin, right? Because the original Freodore, me, has no last name, but now in Koshin I am Saito Freodore. I became Saito. そうですね、Koshinみたいになんか名字が急に来たね。オリジナルが名字ないけど今もサイトフリオドルですね。まあ、甲子園のフリオドルですね。僕じゃなくて。But yeah, no, that's the 甲子園 Freodore. That's not me. He's really cool though. Sometimes I get clips of him and it's kind of like, which I mean it's me, but it's also not me, you know. He's so cool. He's playing really well. He has A rank in defense. He's like preparing for the Koshin very earnestly, practicing. I think he even has a girlfriend or something. So I don't know, it's kind of like, wow. I want to be like Saito Freodore one day, also. Because also ね、だってなんか個人のフリオドルがかっこよすぎない？だって、なんていうの、なんか守備が強くて、個人が真面目向かって練習して、なんかいいプレイをできるし、そして彼女もできたね。すごい高校生だよ。You said 待ってる甲子園。Yeah. I remember that. 覚えてるよね。待ってる甲子園。It's like I'm waiting for you 甲子園。It's like wow. He's saying those lines, you know? あのセリフが自信で言えるのがすごいよな。 I'm also waiting for Koshin. It's gonna be really fun to watch. でも僕も待ってるよね。視聴するのが楽しみしてるよ。We're gonna be... I believe this was mentioned in the last call that we did, but we're gonna be doing a watch-along. Ian, we're gonna be hosting watch-alongs. Well, I'm not gonna be hosting, but Ian's gonna be hosting a series of watch-alongs for the Koshien matches, so you can rest assured that I'll be there. Starting from... I believe August 7th, I would say. August 7th, PDT, August 8th, JST. So that's gonna be fun. けどそうですね、家の同時視聴がするつもりがあるから、興味あればぜひ一緒に視聴しようね。あばばばば。Do you like baseball? I like sports themed stuff. I don't follow baseball as much, but I like baseball anime. I like Diamond no A's a lot. And last year's Niji Koshien, that was my first Niji Koshien that I got to watch as a liver. It was super fun to watch. So it's gonna be fun watching again. Newbiers definitely need some of the explanations, so watch along definitely helps. Yeah, I think last year Maria Senpai was doing a lot of the explanations, which was super helpful, especially for me and other members of By the Beat. Though it was our first time watching the Koshien, so there's usually explanations in the Yen watch along. Very much looking forward. 楽しみにしてるよね、やっぱり。I have a feeling that these matches are going to be really intense. I don't know why. It kind of feels like it's gonna be like a very... It's going to be one of those tournaments where you cannot really rest and breathe, you know? ちょっとあまりなんか安心できない試合が多いの更新になるイメージがあるよね。なんかそのイメージがあるけど。But見てるだけでも緊張するの。You're gonna get nervous just from watching. It is kind of like when it's super close, it's kind of like you can't look away, you know. そうですね、推し試合の時に全然身をそらせないよね。Last year was super fun because of that also. だって去年も楽しかったね。Yeah, no, last year had a lot of matches that were super close. I will do my best channeling that's me channeling サイトフリオドール right now. サイトフリオドールが絶対に頑張るよね。But anyways, guys, I think this is going to be the point where I will be ending the stream. Thanks so much for joining me today. It was a fun, nostalgic, and coffee talk. So, thank you very much for coming today, and thanks so much for your support, especially this week where I wasn't as active. But regardless, very much appreciate. I had a really fun time with the streams that I did do this week, which was the Nobody Lives Under the Lighthouse and then the collab. Both the Melody Release collab and the Emissary Zero collabs. So thanks so much for joining us then as well. I think next week I should be able to fit in more streams, but we'll see. We'll see. Or this week depending on the time zone, you know? 今日そうですね。まあ選手が配信が少なかったけど、まあ楽しかったね。Nobody Lives Under the Lighthouse そして2つのコラボ。コラボも応援してくださってありがとうございますね。今週はもっと配信できそうからよろしくお願いします。そして甲子園もバットココ応援してください。よろしくお願いします。バットココ応援をよろしくお願いします。And when it comes to the Koshien, also please, we'll be under your care. Please root for Bato Koko and Koyanagi senpai. Let's get that victory. 勝ちましょうね。小柳先輩、小柳監督先輩も応援してくださったら嬉しいですね。So, before we end, I'm gonna be reading the super chats and then we can call it a day, okay? じゃあ終わる前にスーパーチャットを読ませていただきます。The next stream or I guess a spoiler that I can give is that the next stream I'm gonna be in a big collab featuring Ian on Tuesday, August 4th, PDT or August 5th JST. I don't want to reveal too much because I'm not the one organizing this one, but I'll be participating. So, and probably we'll have my own POV as well. So we'll see you there. We'll see you there then. Alright. 今日そうですね。まあネタバレできる今週の予定。水曜日、EN の大コラボがあるし、なんか13人ぐらい参加してるのコラボがあるし、僕が参加しますね。僕が企画してなかったから、それ以上教えるよね。それまで教えるよ。But yeah, no, it's gonna be a pretty big collab. I think we have around 13 people participating. 13 or 12. But we'll see. Hopefully, I mean, more information should be revealed later, so. Anyways, now I'm actually gonna read the super chat. じゃあ、というわけで、super chat を読ませていただきます。よし。銀さんsuper chatありがとうございます。コーヒーがとても美味しかったです。中身もよろしくお願いしますね。But please do not take my word of the member count for a fact. It is just like my estimate, but we'll see. まあ人数がまだ確認されてないから。後で みんなが確認できるよね。Meever, thanks so much for the super sticker. Thank you very much. Cowpilly, thanks so much for the super chat. Thank you very much. Yeah, no, this is the right season for iced coffee, so hope you've been enjoying it. Thank you very much. Let's have a nice August, everyone. By the way, I just realized, right? July ended. Time is flying by so fast. そうですね、今きついたね。もう8月だ。今月もよろしくお願いします。あっという間ね。I'll continue being under your care for this month, so thanks so much for your support, and thanks so much for your support during the month of July as well. Thank you, thank you. ありがとね。ありがたいしん。A lot of ありがたいしん。レモンクリームさん、つぶちゃとありがとうございます。ありがとうございます。嬉しいですね。ありがとうございます。ひめちゃん、つぶちゃとありがとうございます。はい、ありがとうございます。Thank you for streaming you more busy. Of course, of course. Something that I genuinely enjoy, so whenever I can, I try to slot in even a bit. ニップさん、そばちょっとありがとうございます。はい、この注ぎ方を絶対にできると思うからおすすめです。ありがとうございます。ペピさん、そばちょっとありがとうございます。はい、このレシピ頑張ってください。絶対にできると思う。マルさん、そばちょっとありがとうございます。懐かしいアニメいいよね。時々思い出すの。Neko10, thanks so much for the super chat. Thank you very much. I'm glad my coffee sats have a nice effect, a nice outcome on your day. So very much appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining. モンチャさん、super chatありがとうございます。面白いですね。国によってキャラの名前が変わるの。よろしくお願いします。しおりさん、ちょっとありがとうございます。ありがとうございます。はい、二次甲子園。よろしくお願いしますね。Erin, thanks so much for the super chat. Thank you very much. I'm glad you enjoy the information. If it becomes useful, or just if anyone was able to learn something new, then I'm glad. Dimsy, thanks so much for the super chat, Jason. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you. I'm glad you appreciate the nostalgia talk. It's I don't know. I feel like in the end, what all these pieces of media, what these works, the fact that they have an impact on someone, and the fact that people were able to create something that we are able to know so many years later reminisce about, and perhaps it has an influence on how we live our lives nowadays. It's kind of amazing to think about, you know. So I don't know. I enjoy it. I really enjoy it. そうだね。やっぱりすごいよね。なんか今でも考えられる、思い出せるの作品が作ってくれるの人がいて、あれはすごいよね。やっぱり影響ができて。なんか記憶に残るから、永遠に 残るみたいな感じやるよね。Because it remains in the memory, it kind of feels like that work is gonna live forever, you know? ハムボンボンさん、スーパースティックありがとうございます。赤いバー、thanks so much for the super chat, thank you very much. Let's have a great week. Let's have a great week this time also. Thank you very much. Lenny, thanks so much for the super chat, thank you very much. Yeah, no, Metabots was super nostalgic. I'll probably be thinking about Metabots all day today. そうだね、今日は多分一日メダロとのことを考えるかもしれないね。ズーさん、スプチャットありがとうございます。はい。よろしくお願いしますね、二次甲子園。みやぴさん、2時3時スプチャットありがとうございます。Thank you very much. Thank you very much. No worries. Thank you so much for supporting the archives whenever you can. Please do not worry, okay? Whenever anyone is busy, whenever anyone can't come to the live streams, I appreciate you guys giving the time that you have available to support our activity, so thank you very much. Going at your own pace is completely okay. マイペースでいいよね。大丈夫だ。ありがとうございます。トイさん、スプチャットありがとうございます。はい、ありがとうございます。よろしくお願いします。よろしくお願いしますね、ドイツ市長。Yosh, I was able to read all the super chats, so I think we can call it a day here, okay? じゃあ、スーパーチャットを全部読めたので、ここで終了させていただきます。Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much. We'll see you soon, okay? じゃあ、多分また水曜日にね。We'll see you guys on Tuesday. For sure, so. Soon. Alright, take care, everyone. Have a nice rest of your day. And...See you then. じゃあ、いい一日を過ごせますように、みんな、この夏を気をつけてね。気をつけてください。Alright, またね。See you guys. Hasta luego, chicos. Muchas gracias. More Metabots. More power. I never understood that phrase for the English anime opening intro because most of the meta battlers only had one Metabot, so they only had one. But oh well, it was part of the opening song, the English versions.